I'm just going to talk to you about prime lenses versus zoom lenses. I've used prime lenses a lot in the early days of my sort of photography career, if you like, and I moved over to zoom lenses because I found them more versatile. But as I'm going on again, I'm thinking about going back to primes. I'm not doing so many weddings, obviously, with what's going on at the minute. Weddings aren't happening at all, so I'm moving my business in a different direction. As we're having to adapt, and so I'm looking at prime lenses again. So I just thought I'd do this short video and give you, an insight into what I think really. So the 50mm 1.8, as you know, I don't use very much because I'm using the 24 to 105 f4, and I use the 70 to 200 f4 as well. But the 50mm will be fine if I did a 24mm prime and I had a 50mm, and maybe then I went for a 135 f2, so I could have 3 prime lenses. So I've thought about doing that, and I'm thinking, would I actually keep the 50mm 1.8? I might go for, I could go to the 50mm 1.2. So I went through this and I was thinking, well, that's what I'm going to do. I thought, why am I doing that? What am I actually gaining by doing that now? If you're a beginner, and I used to run with a 24mm on a full frame sensor, if you like, but it was film, so a 35mm piece of film. I used to run a 50mm and a 24mm Sigma lens, actually, at the very beginning, probably about 30 years ago, I think. And that used to be fine in the landscape because you had time to change the lens, and it was quite a slow process because it was landscape photography, and even with people, it didn't matter if I got it right or wrong particularly, so that was fine. But then I came to doing weddings, and I used the 50mm, to be honest with you, and at the very beginning I think I did still have the 24mm on film, and I just came unstuck. Changing lenses at a wedding, you have to be so fast. I know there's people out there doing prime lenses brilliantly with weddings, but they must be doing different weddings to me, because my weddings run pretty quickly and I don't really muck around too much. So I found that zoom lenses just took over. The ability to be able to flick the lens so you can just zoom very quickly. As soon as you get used to that, where you can be 100mm and you're stuck by a pew in a church and you can adjust very quickly. I also found with cropping, so you can shoot primes at the wedding, and then you find that you're cropping all the time in Lightroom, so I'm able to get nearer the crop with the zoom and frame better from any position. And so the zooms completely took over. And as you know, I'm a big fan of the, obviously this channel's got a lot about the 5D Classic, but I found that the 24 to 105 has got every lens you need, the real lenses you actually need at a wedding. The 70-200, I could get away with not using that, but I've talked about that in other videos, but it's really zooms versus primes. So imagine if I had to suddenly start changing lenses all the time. Yeah, I wouldn't like that too much. So my theory is quite simple, really. If you need to move fast and you haven't got time to change lenses, the zooms are that good. The L series zooms are that good. Optical difference in quality now, it is there, and I'm not saying it's not. 24mm, if you bought a 24mm 1.4 Canon lens, and then you looked at this at 24mm, there is an optical difference, quite a significant one actually. But the difference is that I can be at 24 1 minute and then zoom straight over to 70mm, 105, whatever, to do a portrait without changing the lens. So for weddings, for me, I can never get away from the zoom lenses. I've thought about 2 bodies, 2 primes. That could work, but as I say, moving slightly away from weddings now, what would you be using the primes for? So I see a lot of people using 135s at the moment, And the Sigma lenses, the art lenses, seem to be getting popular. Am I going to go that route? Well, it's a very expensive route. Again, you've got 2 lenses already. So would I really do that? I don't think I will be. It's going to be a case of what am I going to gain? And that's what I'm looking at all the time with equipment, is what am I going to gain by changing that body? What am I going to gain by changing the lenses? And I still keep coming back to these 2 lenses. So if you're trying to make this decision, just bear in mind that if you added together all of the prime lenses you want, you probably end up buying the lower end range lenses to try and get the L series zooms, because these, you know, if you didn't buy the IS version of this, it's not very expensive now. So you can go out and buy the non-IS for £400, I think. So you start adding your primes up. And also another big one is dust on the sensor, which is really important. You're constantly changing primes, you'll be getting rubbish on your sensor, getting it onto the mirror. So another reason I don't particularly like primes too much. So I've talked myself into the fact, I think, now, and that's what these videos are about really. I'm learning as I go along as well. As I say, I'm shifting my business at the moment, so that's what I'm looking at, is I think I'm going to stay with the zooms. So I hope that helps get you thinking about what you're using. Optical quality, you can look at DxO Mark, is it? I can't remember now. Lots of different sites about the quality of these lenses. What I would say to you is try and hire a lens and then print at 20x16 from it and test it at a few different apertures before you spend a lot of money on these large aperture prime lenses, because you'll find you have to stop them down to make them any good anyway. So yeah, one last thing I would say, which is something I really do agree with what people say, is prime lenses do make you a better photographer from the point of view of composition. So I'm really happy that I didn't use zooms in the early days and I just used prime lenses, because it made me see 24mm very easily. So I can go into a scene and just think in 24mm. My brain's adjusted away from a 50mm, but at one point I could see 50mm everywhere. So as I say, choosing primes actually makes you a better photographer in one way, because you'll pick one lens. What I wouldn't do is buy about 4 primes and then just go around changing the lens all the time to learn. I would just stick with one prime and just learn that, and then move on to your next prime. Learn one focal length area at a time. A 24, a 28 and a 35 to me are really the same lens, and then you go in the middle at 50mm, 40mm, 50mm, 60mm are pretty much the same lens to me. So, and then the telephoto lenses 135s and 200mm produce a similar looking image. So bear that in mind. Always think wide, mid and telephoto, and learn in those ranges. It doesn't matter really which ones you pick. If you picked a 35 f2, which is a great focal length I think for learning, and you'll see that focal length in the Fujis, the X100s. I know it's a 23mm, but full frame, old money if you like, is 35mm on full frame. So yeah, that's a good focal length to learn with, is a 35mm. So I hope that helps. I'm going to start putting out more videos now. I've had to move to this little studio, and obviously it's pretty hard at the moment. I hope you're all keeping safe. If you comment below and just tell me what you're using at the moment, and that would be great. Okay, see you again soon.